going to be making a fruit tart with a glaze on top. This means making Pate Sucre and Creme Patisserie. So this is a really high skill dish, so this would be a suitable dessert to do for either your year 12 exam or even your year 11 exam as well. So the first thing you're going to do is make your pastry. So to make your pastry is the rubbing in method, and you can do this by hand, rubbing the butter into the flour, or you can do it in a food processor with a blade, or you can do it in a kitchen aid as well. So you need your butter in cubes, and then it needs to be cold. Do not have it warm, so I've just got it straight out of the fridge. I cut it up and put it in the fridge. Flour also needs to be cold. Again, I weighed this out and put it in the fridge. What you're gonna do is, so I'm using a KitchenAid because I'm gonna cheat. You can also use these, but we don't have as many at school. So I'm gonna put the flour in first, cubed butter. Again, pop this in. And then what I want to happen is I want this to go into breadcrumbs. Looks like breadcrumbs, and I can't see any big lumps. If you do find any big lumps, just rub it in with your fingers like this. But you don't want it to get warm. So you use your fingertips as if you feel your hands. Your fingertips are the coldest part of your hands. You don't want to get any flour on the palm of your hands when you're rubbing it. So you can see it's like breadcrumbs. Beautiful. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is separate your egg. So separating egg, you don't want to get any of the egg white in it, you just want the yolk. I'm going to use the egg white to make meringues with afterwards, so I'm going to separate it. And to separate it, you can either crack it on the side, you can use a grater. I go from shell to shell, like this. Or, if you're nervous about cracking your yolk on the edge of the shell, you can put it into your hands and drain it through your hands. So if you pop it into your hands and drain it that way, you can also do it that way to get the white off it. So I'm going to put my yolk in. This makes it a much richer dough. I'm going to put my egg white just on the side. I'm going to wash my hands. Avoid any cross-contamination. Make sure that you put your eggshells straight in the bin and wash your hands straight away. Okay, also in there, I'm going to put my sugar. That's what makes it sweet. I also forgot you need a pinch of salt. So just a pinch, not a handful, a pinch of salt. So you want to use cold water, because if you use warm water, it's going to melt the butter, and you don't want that to happen. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons in. And again, just going to turn it on for about 45 seconds. You don't want to overwork your dough. Once it's starting to come together, once you can see some lumps, you don't want to pulse it until it comes into a dough, because that means you're overworking it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my hands in and just squeeze it into a ball. Should feel a little like sticky. You don't want it to be really dry. So here's my dough. Is before you chill it, you're actually going to roll this dough out so it's easier to work with, and then you're going to chill it. So either between 2 pieces of cling film or 2 pieces of baking paper to help it roll out. I'm going to put it between 2 pieces of baking paper, because then I'm going to use the baking paper to blind bake. So I'm just going to push it down a little bit just to make it easier to roll. My piece on top, lightly, and then I'm just going to gently roll it out. This stops it from falling to pieces, it stops it from sticking to the table, and also it stops you from changing the consistency, because you don't want to add any more flour to your pastry, because it will make it drier as well and not taste very good. If the edges start to fray around a little bit, just get your hands and squish them back in to stop them. And also this means you can get more out of your pastry. Chilling. I'm then going to make my cream patisserie. So I've got my milk, my sugar. I've also got 2 eggs, which I need to separate at some point. And I've got my corn flour. So the first thing you're going to do is, in your saucepan, you're going to put the vanilla If you have a vanilla bean, you're going to put that in to infuse it. I don't have a vanilla bean, very posh. I'm going to put in vanilla essence and I'm going to put my milk in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to warm that up and I want to take it off the heat just as it starts to come to the boil. So as soon as the bubbles start going, I'm then going to turn off the heat. Okay, so whilst my milk is warming up with my vanilla in it on the hob behind, I'm going to separate my egg. I can't use an egg separator, I find them too tricky. I'm going to put my yolk in my bowl. You can use a hand whisk, an electric whisk. I'm going to use this because I've got this out. In here, I'm going to add my sugar as well. So I've got my sugar, my 2 egg yolks, and I'm just going to whisk this, and I want it to go white. Okay, so now it will look like a nice white creamy mixture. You're then going to, your milk would have boiled, and you would have taken it off the heat. So you just want it to be warm. You don't want it to be boiling hot. If it's boiling, it's going to cook your egg, which you do not want. Nobody wants scrambled egg in their creme patisserie. So you just want this to be warm to start with, because then you're going to actually cook it. Okay, so once it's cooled down a little bit, you still want it hot, but you just don't want it boiling. You're going to gently pour in about 1/4 of the mixture. So I'm just going to have a little mix around, combine it. Sometimes get stuck in the ridges. Okay, combined, and I can't see any cornstarch. I'm going to add a bit more milk. I'm going to add this gently. And then I'm just going to wash my pan before I put this mixture back in to cook it. Clean pan, you don't want a dirty pan because you don't want any milk from the last bit. I'm going to put a sieve on it and I'm just going to sieve through my mixture because I don't want any lumps before it goes in. What I'm now going to do is I've returned it to the heat, back to the heat in the clean pan, and I'm going to whisk continuously. You might think, oh, I'll just leave it for a minute, but then it'll burn. So you want to just whisk continuously to stop it from burning to the bottom. This wants to be on a low heat. You don't want it to boil, and you'll just do this till it thickens. So what happens is the cornstarch gelatinizes to make it into a thicker custard. Once you've got your custard like this, move it from the heat because you don't want to get any butter, and just whisk that, melt that in. This makes it even more rich. So now you don't want a skin to form on the top of your custard. So you're gonna get a piece of cling film and place it on the top. You can spread it out on a tray or put it into a large bowl to get it to cool quicker. And I'm just gonna pop this on the top, and you want it to go right on top of it. This stops the tough, hard skin that you get on your custard. Like that. I'm going to leave that to cool once I do my tart. So now that the pastry has chilled for over an hour in the fridge, the longer you leave it the better really. With your pastry, it should be easy to work with. Now your pastry should never be shiny. It should always have a matte, smooth texture. If it's shiny, it's going to taste rubbish and it's been overworked. So this pastry, as you can see, is beautiful and matte. Okay, so you're probably going to do it in tart tins with removable bottoms. I don't have any of them. I'm going to put it into a cupcake tray because I don't have any. I just want to grease my tins a little bit as they're not push-up bottoms, and I don't want any chances. So I've just torn off a little bit of my baking paper that I was using to layer it, a tiny bit of butter, and I'm just going to use that. With this, you always want to make sure that your cutter is bigger than the ring because it's got to go up the side. So all I'm going to do is go right to the edge so I can get as many as possible. Don't twist, just push down. So, put your pastry in the tin, work very gently. Make sure that it's nice and smooth. I'm going to put it on the top and I'm going to use my fingers to pull it up. I'm not going to push it straight in, so I'm going to gently fill it up. And then, as you can see, I've got it in around the side. Then I'm going to gently push it in, and with my fingers make sure that it's to the bottom. Help let any steam out, and it will also help you get your air bubbles out of it, as you can see, because we're going to blind bake these. Now I want to make them all exactly the same size, so gently put it in. If it cracks, don't worry, just get a little bit of pastry and work it in. So I'm going to do that for all of them. I'm then going to blind bake. Blind bake, get some baking paper, scrunch up a little bit. It's easy to put in it, like that. And then you're just going to pop it in gently. Now, if you don't have any baking beans, you can use rice, you can use pasta, you can use chickpeas. These are actually my grandma's baking beans. So an heirloom, I would say now. Just pop a handful in. This to weigh down the greaseproof cake and weigh down the pastry to stop it from rising. It also helps to cook them as it conducts the heat. Warning with baking beans. When you get them out of the oven, these are going to be particularly hot. So do not try and handle them. Let them cool before you take them out. 15 minutes. So once they started to set, you can see it and start to go golden brown. Remove my beans gently. Do not touch them. Hot, very hot. So next with your fruit tart, I've got some frozen fruit and some kiwi. And I've got my creme patisserie that I made and my cool cases. So, cooled, not what you're going to do is, usually you do this with a piping bag. I don't have a piping bag. And once you put your fruit on them, then for your glaze, you just need a little bit of apricot jam and a little bit of water, which you heat up. You can put for a sieve to make sure there's no bits in it as well. So strain it, and then you're just going to glaze over your fruit very gently.